For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Hello, everybody. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on your favorite podcast app. And thanks for self-isolating with me. I really appreciate your time today. A couple stories to share with you. We have no celebrity guests just because I think this is a great time to vent and share all of my opinions with you because I am an opinionated person and that's what I do best. Not what I do best, but I do like to poke at people. That's my thing. And when it comes to marketing, there are a lot of deceptive marketing tactics that we see online these days, right? And you might even call them scams or schemes, depending on how you look at it. But one particular strategy or tactic really annoys me. And it's when the prominent messaging is in that company's favor. So when you want to book the airfare, you know, the seat on the plane that's, let's say, $180, and that box isn't as prominent, but the one that's saying you can upgrade to $240 is highlighted. You know, they're drawing your attention to that one and almost making it seem like yours isn't available. Well, have you heard of that? Have you seen it? I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it in just a little bit. And also, you know, Ancestry, you see the TV commercials, everybody's kind of on this kick now of finding out where they've come from and you know, their heritage and things like that, and I appreciate it too. And so a few years ago, I was set up with a media account for Ancestry.ca because my family's Canadian, and you'd think that it would be a fun experience because you're going down the rabbit hole, right? Like you don't know where your family came from, so you're going to experience this time travel in a sense. Well, it wasn't a fun experience with my family. I'll tell you that story coming up in just a little bit. And again, if there's anything that you ever want to share with me, if you agree with me, disagree with me, have a different opinion, I'd love to hear from you. The email address is live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. I want to talk about marketing and the customer experience nowadays. Because, you know, back in the day, it was one thing. You'd always have those infomercials, and generally the reputation was these products don't work, right? I'm going to order this thing to lose belly fat or whatever it is, and it's just not going to work. Well, here's the thing, is that back in the day, you could get away with that because there wasn't this whole social media thing, right? People didn't have a platform to stand on their soapbox and destroy your product, right? And say it doesn't work, it's all a scam, right? Like those weight loss pills and things like that. So there was that sort of marketing, right? If the infomercial was convincing enough, and remember seeing the panning shots of the audience all clapping and oohing and ahhing, right? That food looks so delicious coming out of the cooker. Is that what it's going to look like when I do it? Probably not. And so obviously things have had to change in that regard, right? And then I think I also want to just say deceptive marketing tactics maybe is the term. And I know when I worked in retail many years ago, you have, the signage. You've got 50% in big numbers, but then right above that, you see up to, right? People don't see the up to. They see 50%, not that up to. It's up to 50%. Up to 50%. Do you see what I'm getting at? I'm exaggerating there. People are looking at me in the room going, what is he doing? But I'm saying is that the messaging is still there. Maybe it's a little bit misleading, right? And we had the same thing again when I worked at a party supply store. And, you know, the flyer would show the picture, and then there would be the asterisk or the fine print on page 8 at the very bottom, upside down or whatever it was. And I knew that because I worked in the store, so I knew what was on sale, what the exclusions were, things like that. But of course, you know, the shopper sees the bargain or the discount, the deal, whatever it is, and doesn't notice that, right? And that's also not their job to notice it. Why does it have to be hidden away? And so now I fast forward years later, and the whole email marketing thing is just really obnoxious to me. Like, back in the day, you used to get added to a mailing list, and so then you'd get all this junk mail all the time, right? That happened. You'd order something from a catalog, and then suddenly you're getting a catalog every month. Or you're getting something, right? And then you find out that, oh, well, this company has sold your details to another company, and that's why you're on these mailing lists now. And it takes a lot of time, or it took a lot of time back then, to get off these lists, right? I don't know that I think companies waste their money now if they do that, so they probably don't do these mass mailings that, you know, there's no sense. So now it's all gone digital for the most part. And that's where I'm always leery on, you know, signing up for something new, or, you know, why do you need my email address? Why do you need to have my cell phone to do this authentication and verification? What does it matter? So I'm giving you the code that you're texting to my cell phone. That doesn't mean anything. Like, why? What's the connection there? You didn't know my cell phone number to begin with, so why do you need to make sure that this email address belongs to a random cell phone number? I don't get it. I just don't. But anyway. So there are times when I give in, and I think I actually told a story about that not too long ago, where it's like I wanted to download an app, and then suddenly you need access to my contact list, my photos, my camera, my microphone, and all these things. It's like, it's a slot machine a game. Why do I need to give you all this stuff just to play a free slot machine game? So the marketing has really... It's more intrusive, right? It's more in your face now because your phone is in your hand all the time. So when you're getting these messages to your personal device, to me, I find it's an infringement. I don't prefer having, if I'm doing business with somebody, I don't want them texting me. Like when I get a text message from like the dental office reminding me that it's time, I'm due for a cleaning, I don't like that. I don't find it professional that you're texting me. Texting I see as being casual, as being social, as being, hey, we're in good with each other, like we're buds, we're pals, we're family, we're close, whatever, text me. I don't want a business doing that. I just don't. And again, maybe I'm totally off on my own on this one. It crosses the line. Even emailing me, unless I've told you it's okay, don't email me. And I wrote a column about this not too long ago where I said one email... or doesn't mean that I want to hear from you. That doesn't want to mean I want a relationship with you. I emailed you for information, and suddenly now you're emailing me 3 times a week with offers and deals. I just asked you a question. Chill out. And I find that it's like that. So another one that I've realized is these deceptive, I don't remember the term for it, where what I'm thinking of right now is when you're booking a flight, where I want to get the flight or the seat that is $350, but then I see all the other options, and the big blue button is asking me to upgrade, but then there's this white button with barely a faint outline that says continue with the base price or whatever it is. Basically, continue on the cheap one that we don't want you to keep. We want you to upgrade. We want you to go for the higher price. I don't like that, because it's almost making it look like that one's not an option and my option is here. So you're basically tricking me. I feel you're tricking me. You're wanting to trick me into paying more and going for an upgraded seat. The buttons should be the same colors. It's fine if you want to offer me that. You want to upsell. Upsell is nothing new in the sales world. But make the buttons look the same, and don't try to trick me. Don't try to trick me, because that's going to piss me off. And that's not a great way to build loyalty by doing something like that. Be upfront. I get that when I book the flight and you're going to send me to 3 different pages before I can get to my confirmation, because you're going to ask me to rent a car, you're going to ask me to book a hotel, you're going to ask me for travel insurance, whatever it is. Do that then, but don't try to get... I clicked that I want the $350 seat. don't now go and try and say, how about the 475? And then make it look like I don't have the option for the 350 anymore. It's slimy to me. It's slimy. And it's, what's also disappointing though, is that it's companies that didn't always do this. But of course they've changed their digital marketing, right? They've changed how they upsell, how they make a profit. If you want to upsell me by spamming me then for the next little while, I'm not okay with that, but I can understand it, right? I get it. You'll send me these offers for, hey, do you need a rental car, 2 weeks before my flight? Okay, great. Fine, do it. I'll unsubscribe the second I get it, but send it to me anyway. I don't like that where it's like the negative kind of, and again, I'll have to look up the term for it, but it's almost like, yeah, it's almost like that this button is like shaded out so that it's not clickable, but it is clickable because that's what you're actually wanting. And I don't like that. I feel that it's slimy. I feel like you're tricking me. And if you're wanting, and everybody's about the customer experience, the customer relationship and all that nowadays, that is not the start of a good relationship, I don't think, right? I don't want to feel like I was tricked. I don't want to feel after I go through that page that I get confused because you're slowing me down at that point. Now you're actually, I was fine to book the 350 even though I was really wanting to pay 280, but hey, I'll go 350. Okay, wait a second. Now I'm pausing because I feel this is getting shady now. Again, if the buttons look the same and maybe this was just a, hey, did you want to upgrade to a such and such seat? And it was obvious and blatant and clear, I don't think that I'd be so bothered by it. But it's when you make it look like the option that I want isn't available, when that button is sort of, maybe it's smaller, it's off to the side, it's a different color, it's not a prominent color, and then the option to get more money out of me is prominent, doesn't work for me. Dark patterns, they're called. I got a great team here. They let me struggle for a few minutes, but they did tell me dark patterns. By the way, look that up on Twitter and online. Type that, do a search, dark patterns, because people do screenshots. I remember seeing this a while ago. People do screenshots and just talk about like the slimy tactics that people have, where it makes you, again, like, upgrade even though you don't want to, or buy something that you really didn't intend to. So dark patterns is what they're called. Thank you. And I'm sure as people were listening to this and know exactly what I'm talking about, you're sitting here going, crap, where's his email address to send him this? But yeah, I'll tell you, the email address is live@jbonair.com. So dark patterns. And so it's very slimy to me. Now, another situation that I ran into not too long ago was very similar. I was booking a trip, and normally when we do our travel programming, I don't book flights, reservations, anything like that. But I was wanting to just do a leisurely trip one weekend. And rather than calling in, my hotel connections and things like that we have through the company, I said, let's just like rent an apartment or a condo, for the few days. Well, we went on to a website, and I'm not going to name it because we're going to reach out to media relations and have them comment, but I'm jumping the gun because I'm already on the subject. And so it looked like we could get a 2-bedroom, basement, or not main level apartment condo for a weekend. So I'm not talking Airbnb. I'm talking about sort of like a booking website, like, like the hotel's websites where there's like directories and places to stay. So it looks like, hey, this is great. It's like right by the beach where we were going. It was going to be like $250, whereas the hotel nightly rate was $300 and something. So if we can get this for $250 for a weekend, great. So I jumped, there's the one suite left or one room left. Go and book it, and all of a sudden, once you get through is when you see that the charge is $500 and something. And you freak out because, again, these deceptive patterns. I look and I see 250 as giant, whatever the price was, 200 and something. Like, how did this, it literally doubled in price. That's ridiculous. How is that even allowed? So then when you backtrack, right, you want to kind of go back because this is one of those websites where it's kind of like, well, you've paid and that's that. So I look back, and then it says, of course, fees, right? You get the email that shows you I get the email that shows me one price. So I'm like, okay, well, then that must have been wrong. Here's what I'm being charged. No, that's the fee for the actual place. But then you've got the cleaning fee, the resort fee, the da-da-da-da-da. Remember that airlines kind of went through this not too long ago, or all-inclusive resorts or something, where you see the one price, and then by the time you actually go through the transaction, it's now like $2,000 more. Like, is that really allowed? And so that's exactly what happened with this, where we thought that we got something for $200 and some, and then all of a sudden the fees. So I call the phone number for the actual place, the apartment or the condo, whatever it was. And I get the woman on the phone, and she's like, "Oh, are you Jeremy? You just booked." And I said, "Yeah, but I got a problem here." And she's like, "Oh, what's that?" And I said, "It's advertised as like 2 something." And then so she explained to me, "Well, no, there's the fees and da-da-da-da." And I said, "But you realize the price has now doubled, if not doubled, and a few more dollars." And she said, "Oh, yeah, I guess," as though she didn't know that. And I said, "Well, then cancel this. Like, I don't want to do that. I feel deceived, and that's just wrong, and I don't want this. I don't want to stay with you. I don't trust you." "Well, you'll have to call such and such booking website." And I said, "Absolutely, I will do that right now, but I don't want to pay. I don't want a cancellation fee. I don't want anything." She said, "Well, I think that you have an hour after you book it." And I said, "Oh, I'm calling them right now." So here's what's really funny, is that I was at the office at the time when I booked this, and so at the office here, naturally, because we're a broadcast company, I have recording equipment everywhere. That sounds creepy. Basically what I mean is, if I want to make a phone call, I have no problem hitting a button in any of our rooms and recording it, is what I'm getting at. And so I decided to record the call to the customer service people at this booking website. And sure as shit, I kid you not, the agent, one of the agents that I get on the phone, I said to her, like, "This is the price that, we were quoted, and this is what we got." Even she looked at that and said, "Well, no, that's the price." And I said, it's 500 and something now. So even an employee at this company didn't understand how the pricing works, or didn't even understand where to see the fees and the breakdown of what your total cost would be. Their own employee got it wrong as well. And so that had, and again, like I said, we have this call recorded. I wasn't planning on going into this story today, but we have the call recorded, and we're actually going to approach media relations at that company to sort of explain their deceptive marketing tactics and their upsell and how that works. So absolutely, the fees and everything were there if you decided to click the tiny little text. I mean, there's a lot on a web page, right? When you're going to a website, there's a lot of information. It's going to have the amenities of this place. You're going to have the cancellation policy. You're going to have whatever. But, you assume there's tax or whatever it is, just because, if you've bought something or spent money, right, you realize there's often tax on what your purchase is. But never did we expect for the price to skyrocket more than double what it was. And again, so to me, that puts a bad taste in my mouth on this booking website and to this apartment or this condo complex that we were going to stay at. But would I book through this website again? Absolutely not. And so in today's world, where customer service and the experience, they call it, is so vital, because on social media, anybody can destroy your product, your company, or whatever it is because of a bad experience. I mean, I had a terrible time at this resort, or the food was shit, or whatever. Look out, I'm going on social media and I'm telling the world about it. And that's where you see so many companies, responding very quickly on Twitter to try to diffuse the situation. Or you'll see them have you DM them the information so it doesn't play out publicly. Well, I'm sorry, but if you've wronged me and you've pissed me off and you've screwed me over, right, that's the mentality that a customer has nowadays. I work hard for my money, and there's a lot of competition out there. The fact that I'm doing business with you says that I want every penny. I want my money's worth, is what it is, and I want a good transaction. I want a positive experience, I want a good transaction, and I want to have a good story to tell people after. But again, we see that, there was that study back in the day where, like, if you had a good, I don't remember what it was, and I'm just going to make up numbers. Like, if you had a good experience at a restaurant, you were likely to tell 2 people. If you had a bad experience at a restaurant, you're likely to tell 10 people. Do you know that? Again, I'm just making it up. I don't remember if that was the industry or not, but that's my point. Now, this was before social media, right? So that was the kind of the thing. That if I had a bad time at a hotel or whatever it was, I'll tell more people than if I had a good experience. And so I think that that's what we see nowadays. So for that booking website, and again, maybe we will pursue the media relations comment, but I don't know. Do you really want to dupe customers? Because are they like Leslie? Are they less likely? Do they like Leslie? Is that what I said? Are they less likely to come back to you? If I'm doing if I'm running a hotel, I want people to come back to me time and time again. I don't want to get the one customer that I've duped. Why would you want to? Why operate like that? That's just so bizarre. Anyway, I'd like to know dark patterns, first of all. Have you experienced them? Tell me your situations or send a screenshot of them. You can email me live@jbonair.com, and just deceptive marketing and upselling. It's just, I don't know, just slimy. Makes me not want to do business with people. But like I said, I take note and I remember it and I don't come back to you. That's how I am. That's the world according to JB, everybody.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. Now, I did have another subject to talk about in this segment, but there was just a commercial for Ancestry.com, and it reminds me of a story that several years ago, I would say it was more than 5 years ago at least, we had the opportunity to get a media account. They set us up on a media account for me to try out this service, right? It's been around for a while, but I guess they were wanting a bit of a publicity push. And so I didn't quite know exactly what to expect. Apparently, you could see like voting records, and there might be some government documents that they've obtained, and it's kind of a look back in history, almost going to a museum of your own family history is kind of how it was portrayed to me. So I said, okay, fine, what the hell? I know what I know about my family based on the stories the family has told, right? So it's kind of like, well, my grandparents came from Winnipeg Beach, which is, about 45 minutes north of Winnipeg, the city that I'm from. And you kind of just have the basics, right? No, everybody was from the farm in Winnipeg Beach. Well, you know that that's not exactly accurate, right? So I had gone over to my parents' house and said, okay, well, I'm going to bring my laptop over. I've got this account for this Ancestry thing, and let's look it up. Like, so, Dad, what was your mom's name? Your grandma. Or what was your grandma's mom's, your great-great-grandma? Like, what were some of the names? Well, he didn't know that. And his parents were both deceased at the time, so we couldn't go and ask them. But he checked in with his brothers and sisters, and nobody knew the answer to that. And so I said, okay, great. So let's just do some digging. Let's type in the last name, and let's see what that brings up. Okay, well, let's type in some other relative names, see what that brings up. And we did get a connection to Winnipeg Beach. There were some other, relative names. And my dad started disagreeing with the facts. And so when we see like voting records from, 19 whatever it was, or we see an immigration border crossing from, such and such time, and there's a name on it, and you can see the person's name written on it. You can see the signature. You can see like the government representative, handwriting or printing, the name and things like that. My family is the only one that can disagree with Ancestry. My dad, my parents, and then it ended up becoming an argument. And so I just kind of said, this isn't fun. This was supposed to be, kind of a cute, kind of a cool thing to check out in terms of, hey, let's figure out, like, we know that our family came from either Ukraine or Poland, depending on the side of the family. My dad's side is Polish, my mom's side is Ukrainian. So let's try to see like what year people came to Canada, or let's see, maybe we've got family in Poland still, or Ukraine, depending on whose family we were looking at. And it became so like heated where I'm saying, Dad, this name is connected to this person. So just because you told me that you didn't know his or her spouse's name. Well, here's a document that is showing you a spouse's name, but you're arguing with it. You're disagreeing with it. Like, this isn't a scam. They're not like trying to get anything out of you. These are documents that were preserved and are now historical. Like, it's a done deal, Dad. Like, where nobody is like they're not asking you for money. Nobody's coming forward and trying to scam you out of anything. But what was supposed to be sort of a cool family, like, okay, let's research the family tree and kind of see where we've come from and where. No, it became just one big argument. And I think eventually, after a while, my mom kind of started to get it, like saying to my dad, well, maybe you didn't know, or maybe that's where they came from. It's no different than when I don't know the story of something in my family, that I might just make it up, or this was the story that I heard because it was handed down to me, and that's the story that I go with, right? I mean, you never know. You don't know how, especially if these people are no longer around and you can't ask them. And it was so frustrating that I thought, okay, you know what? Yeah, everybody came from Winnipeg Beach, end of story. That was it. That's our family tree. We came from Winnipeg Beach. My parents just wouldn't accept that, people came from, or there was another situation where, like I said, we had the border crossing thing, and somebody had come through from the east coast of the United States. And again, Dad disagreed with that. Never heard anybody coming from the States. Well, in fairness, Dad, have you actually thought about it? I highly doubt that any of your family conversations back in the day were about this. It wasn't a thing that you would discuss with the family. It just didn't come up. So you know what, Dad? Let's have an open mind and learn about this. But yeah, he's the only one that can disagree with history. That's actually proven in writing with documents. So my thanks to Ancestry. It was ancestry.ca many, many years ago for setting me up with a free media account and causing the family arguments that it did. I really appreciate that.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
JB here, back on The Scribble. A couple of weeks ago, I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast or the radio show, so I'll just set up the story again. So this whole coronavirus thing, social distancing is what it was called. I guess now they're calling it, what is it, physical distancing or something to that effect, because they still want you to be social with people. So one of the ultimate places that you should be social and close to people is at a funeral. And I unfortunately had to go to a funeral a couple of weeks ago, last week or 2 weeks ago. And that was sort of the big question on the way there was, do we hug the family? Now, this wasn't my immediate family. This was an in-law of my relative. So, again, still, we've known the family for a good 15, 20 years, how long my relative has been married to that person. And, their family has always been a part of our family. So it's not an immediate family member, right? Like, if this was my grandma and, my grandpa just died, I would say that I would risk it, but then I'll probably get people criticizing me and saying, you're putting your grandma at risk. But you know what? You get my point, though, is, when it's something like this, do you break the rules and give your family member a hug when they're grieving and mourning? And we had this big dilemma. And so then we get to the church, and we were actually told by the people at not the congregation, but wasn't the priest, I don't even know, the ushers or whatever, they are at a funeral. And we're basically told, no hugging the family, and you can do the elbow thing is what we were told at a funeral. And I just thought, I didn't want to do that, right? Because you don't want to be the person who goes to the funeral and then offers that up, and then you see everybody else behind you giving them hugs and things, right? Like then it's awkward. And no, that's what everybody was doing. There was no hugging. Everybody was sort of keeping their distance, and that was that. So, do you agree with that? And again, like if if by all accounts people are healthy and not sick, and again, I realize that people have come down with coronavirus and not shown any symptoms, so they didn't realize they were carrying it. Like, I personally said that if my cousin has it and my cousin hugs me because she needs a hug, well, you know what? That's family. I mean, that's been my attitude, but maybe I'm completely wrong on that. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Thanks so much for tuning in and subscribing. I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat